So My Adventures of Superman is the latest DC animated superhero series, this time focusing on the early years of the Man of Steel, and I just love the fact that we have Clark, Lois and Jimmy at the center of this entire series. Now I hate to say this, but I just didn't enjoy this series as much as I wanted to. I went into it with the best of intentions and just wanted to be blown away by all of it. But I just thought it played it super safe, and some of the secondary characters, I mean, of course it was purposeful that they were focusing on lesser known villains, which I am all here for, but I just feel like they could have developed them in a much more sophisticated way, as you just didn't really care about any of them, as they really did focus all of the character development on the core trio, which I do think is the right thing to do in terms of really having these characters front and center, but at least do something with your secondary villains to really make you care for them. And then the primary villains, in terms of all of the robotic characters, I mean, God, you couldn't really care for them at all. Amanda Waller and Sam Lane towards the end of the series, they were pretty cool. And Slade Wilson was really, really brilliantly depicted in this series as well. But like I said, I just wish that they would have developed the secondary villains as well as had a couple more sophisticated storylines taking place in this series, but maybe in season 2 they will rectify all of that. But anyway, let's go back to the positives. So I love the fact that you're focusing on their early years, and especially in their early years as interns at the Daily Planet, so you really can experience what it's like being right at the bottom of the pecking order at this brilliant journalistic newspaper organization. And the anime style was really, really cute, especially in the first couple of episodes when you're seeing all of the nervousness take place between Clark Kent and Lois Lane. And what I also really loved is as the episodes were progressing, Superman is gaining more and more new abilities, which is really, really brilliant, and Lois and Jimmy are being really suspicious of Clark Kent, and actually really early on they figure out that he is Superman. I thought maybe they would have done this in the second season, or at least at the end of the first season, as I loved all of those moments in which, you know, Clark Kent suddenly disappears and then Superman enters, and I thought they definitely could have played on that gimmick a little bit more. And Jack Quaid just voices Clark Kent and Superman so brilliantly to perfection, as you really are able to see this Kansas boy just being so perfect, so shy, and just so embodying all of the aspects that you really do love Clark Kent for, but also being a really early years Superman who is being really brave, who is trying to be really, really cool and sophisticated and trying to be a little bit different to Clark Kent, but also still being a really noble character. And then when he discovers that, you know, there are evil versions of his Superman character out there, your heart is breaking with this character, as like I said, he is depicted really, really well. Similarly, Lois Lane still has her spunky reporter attitude aspects, but because this series is in its early years, she is really early on this journey, which is really, really cool. And for the first time, we really have Jimmy Olsen front and center, and I love the fact that they made him best friends with Clark Kent, as that really does add so much more dynamism to their relationship. And I love how there's a little bit of a rivalry taking place within the organization at the Daily Planet, as of course there's fully fleshed reporters within this unit, and then these guys are interns, so you really can see the difference of treatment. And we have a Gotham City special appearance from the Daily Planet too, but by the end of the series, Clark, Lois and Jimmy then get elevated and promoted to being proper reporters, so now they're on the same level as their counterparts. And Perry White, I feel like he could have been a little bit more ruthless with these guys, as right in the beginning he is not tolerating any of their rubbish, but then he really quickly just gets won over by them. But what I did think was pretty brutal is when he moves the Superman storyline from these guys to somebody else. And I thought it was really funny actually when Lois Lane is interviewing Superman. Superman is still discovering everything about himself, so he doesn't really have all the answers that he wants to communicate to the world with yet. And the Kent parents, from Clark Kent's point of view, are really, really nice. And I thought it was really interesting how for once actually Superman can't understand his father Darrell at all, as he is of course communicating in a bit of a Kryptonian language. Like I said, of course they are focusing on lesser known villains, so we have Intergang, Live Wire, Banshee, Mist and Heatwave, but the main villain from Superman's Rogue of Galleries is of course Parasite, and Parasite was really, really, really awesome here. Pretty destructive and unstoppable. I always think Parasite is one of those really interesting characters, as the more you attack him, the more he learns from you, and you can't really defeat this guy, so it was pretty ingenious how they ultimately did defeat him. And like I said, it was a good idea to go for lesser known villains, firstly to make this series a little bit different to what you have seen before, and also to elevate these lesser known characters to the mainstream. But if you're going to do that, just write them in a much better way, and all of the Kryptonian tech, the Eradicator and potentially evil Superman based storylines were just done so much better in season 1 of Superman and Lois. So that storyline, I just couldn't get hooked with it, as I was like, this has just been better done in other materials. And like I said, all of the robots, all of the technology, that looked cool from a fighting sequence point of view, but from a storyline narrative point of view, I just could not get hooked with it. But what was really good was Sam Lane and of course the unstoppable and brutal Amanda Waller. And I love how they write a bit of a backstory as to why these two guys are not trusting Superman at all. They're not going to tolerate it. I mean, Sam Lane did get won over by the end, but Amanda Waller just was not having it. And you get to see why, as of course all of their teammates were dying around them when the Kryptonians first came to destroy and take over Earth. And the final episode does tease that they are going to do this for a second time, even though Superman did remove them. And I love the fact that, you know, this time when Superman comes onto the Earth, his origins are a little bit different, as of course there is a massive technological base in Smallville, which you just know is going to be attracting all of the Kryptonians back onto Earth. One episode that I absolutely loved was the multiverse episode, which was so cool. And I know all of the superhero shows and even non-superhero shows at the moment are just exploding with multiverse-based storylines. But I feel like, you know, they did do it in a bit of a new and innovative way in terms of focusing on the Lois Lanes and teasing a bit of an evil Superman in other universes. Having that evil double being who wanted to get his top hat to be able to create and take over the entire multiverse is just going to be really interesting to see what's going to happen next, especially now that Amanda Waller has sole control over all of the Task Force X characters, which is going to be interesting in season 2. I am just really hopeful that they really do just make it so much bigger and better and bolder than season 1 was, as from my perspective it wasn't as great as it could have been. And so for all of those reasons, I'm going to give My Adventure with Superman a 4.5 out of 10. Now I'd love to hear what you thought of this series, so please let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, and I look forward to seeing you in my next video.